welcome back. Now, whether it's the parliament or on the streets or even in the Reserve Bank of India, everyone is talking about onions. Prices continue to be on the boil. The government is in damage control mode. In fact, a high-powered group of ministers led by Home Minister Amit Shah met today to figure out what to do about rising onion prices. More direct procurement from farmers may be one of the solutions that they're looking at, even as accusations grow of hoarding and middlemen bumping up prices. Meanwhile, politically controversial statements continue to haunt our netas. Yesterday, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman's response to a question on whether she consumed Egyptian onions hit the headlines. Today, it was the turn of BJP MP Ashwini Chaubey to face flak.
मैं इतना लहसुन प्याज नहीं खाती हूँ जी, so don't worry. मैं ऐसे परिवार से आती हूँ जहाँ अनियन प्याज का मतलब नहीं रखते हैं.
मैं शाकाहारी आदमी हूँ और शाकाहारी में मैंने कभी प्याज का चखा ही नहीं है, तो मुझे जैसे आदमी को क्या मालूम कि प्याज का क्या स्थिति है.
But why are prices rising and staying consistently high? Why does a hike in onion prices particularly become such a sensitive issue? And is anyone working on long-term solutions? To speak more on this, I'm joined now by Y.K. Alak, economist and of course former Union Minister, and Devendra Sharma, food and agriculture policy expert. Welcome to both of you and thank you for speaking with us today. Mr. Sharma, let me begin by asking you why onion prices, and it's a very different kind of question, why onion prices and high prices become such a politically sensitive subject. We see prices of commodities spiking all the time. We've seen it with tomatoes, we've seen it with others. But when it comes to onions, it becomes a big, big deal.
Well, we all know that Sushma Swaraj's government was defeated because of onion crisis and onion price rise. So I think political parties are too sensitive as far as the price rise is concerned in onions. And that's perhaps one of the most important reasons why everyone is talking about the hike that onion prices is developing into. So I think that's the primary reason. Otherwise, I see no reason, because onion is not a staple food, and we need to understand that the shortfall in production this time is quite serious. Maharashtra and Karnataka. I am right now in Bangalore, and today I met the onion growers. I was told that the loss is as much as 45% of the crop was lost, and Karnataka is the second most important producer of onion. So I think Maharashtra and Karnataka both suffered, along with Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan also, because of unseasonal rains. Yeah. And that's the reason that the prices are on boil. Of course, the middle rung or the middle trade, the middleman has a role to play also in seeing that the prices rise beyond a point.
No, but that's what's important to understand. Mr. Alak, what's your perspective on this? We were having a conversation a little earlier in the show, and one of the speakers, mentioned that hopefully high onion prices translates into higher rural income, and that would help the economy as well. But can we be sure that that's really happening?
Well, I mean, this was in Maharashtra, this was a cane belt, and about 2 decades ago we encouraged them to diversify, and they went into grapes and onions. And onion prices tend to fluctuate a lot. Onions are an important part of the consumption budget. In a vegetarian country, if you look at fruits, consumption of fruits and vegetables, onions are more or less at the top. For poor people, with a roti and onion is something that matters. Now, once upon a time, the state used to intervene, in the sense that the state government would stock onions, and there used to be a kind of cycle, and they would try and ride through the cycle. It was not being done very efficiently. People like me argued that they should play the forwards market also, rather than actually carrying physical stocks. And so then the government stopped it from the last few years. The government, as you know, has been withdrawing from economic activity. So they don't do anything about this. So what happens is that since the crop is very variable and the supply chain is, I'm afraid, not very good, the cooperatives are there, but they don't have a major supply angle. There are some farmer producer companies. There is like a company like the Sahyadri farmer producer company with Shinde there is playing a role, but still the major role is played by the trade, and trade does tend to play it, it tends to, without much government intervention, it tends to accentuate the cycle in onion prices.
Okay. Can you explain to us, Mr. Sharma, why we keep going through this painful cycle again and again? Now, we've had unseasonal rain this year, so crops have gotten destroyed, and we see the same rut taking place. What really can be done? Because now it's in hindsight, right? You're trying to import from here, import from there, and try and stabilize prices, maybe not get the best quality stuff in the market. What can we change about this vicious cycle?
Well, I think that's a very good question, and I think that is something that should have been tried or looked into seriously all these years. You know, this is not a new phenomena, as you rightly mentioned. In 2010, the prices had spiked. In 2013, we saw the prices going up phenomenally. And every time the talk is the same. We'll crack down on the hoarders. We'll try to tame the middle value chain and so on and so forth. And nothing happened beyond that. The government was trying to have a buffer stock built up last year, and we saw that it has about 57,000 tons it had procured from farmers, out of which 32,000 tons have been spoiled. As we know, the onions have rotted. And the point is that 57,000 tons is a day's requirement. So I don't know what kind of buffer stock is that. You know, when we have just 57,000 tons, I thought that buffer stock could be at 10 places in the country, and that could have built up a kind of a reserve that the country needed to at this particular time. And secondly, you know, there has to be advanced planning on this. We knew earlier from quite a few months that the season is going to be bad this year, and we waited till the last minute when the prices had shot up to about 60-70 rupees a kilo. Then only we started allowing imports, and if imports had to be done, then it could have been planned much earlier. Because also, let's not forget, what we are importing is only, let's say, maximum of 1.5 lakh tons, which is 2 or 3 days requirement. So I don't know how that will be offsetting the price rise that we see today, because it is expected now that you know, the kharif crop has been bad, and the next crop is also not expected to be so good. So this is going to be quite a you know, problem over the next few months. And I thought the government should have been prepared for it. Two things, I think, let's be very clear. You know, when the prices crash for the farmers, nobody talks about it. That's the tragedy of this country. You know, last year the prices were 30 paisa. Some people suffering negative losses, and at some places it was 200 rupees a quintal. Now these kinds of prices, people were throwing onions onto the streets. No media ever talked about it. You know, but and there was no outrage in the country. So when the farmers suffer, nobody wants to talk about it.
Are farmers gaining right now?
No, hold on.
Are farmers gaining right now? Because there are reports of farmers who have had to sell for 8 rupees a kilo. Are they getting are they getting 140, 150, 130, 100 rupees
that's
a kilo?
Right.
Even?
No. They are not. As I said, I met the onion growers today in Karnataka. They are saying we have already sold off the crop to the traders, and they are the ones who are now taking advantage of it. So that tells us clearly that, you know, they sold it for less than 20 rupees. Most farmers that I met today are saying that they sold it for 12 rupees or 18 rupees maximum, and that's the kind of range that we have seen in this part of the country. And some, of course, say that, as you rightly said, 8 rupees a kilo. We saw a video also going viral, you know, farmer complaining that he sold it who is onion for 8 rupees. But I think what we need in this country is, of course, storage, but more than storage, what we need is a price stabilization fund. Now, what we have is a price stabilization fund for the consumers. When the prices go up, then there is a price stabilization fund which comes into place. But when the prices fall, nothing like that happens. You know, let's look at America, for instance. Even today, America has enough storage, of all sophisticated and state-of-the-art storage, and yet onion farmers are not able to sell. You know, they are waiting for right price, and the onion prices in America has also, many farmers are writing on the Twitter that the onion prices they are getting now is what they were getting 30 years back. So this is a problem which is because of the market economy, and I think we need to understand that we need to bring in instruments like price stabilization funds, where farmers whose when the prices dip, they are at least supported, and the government should come forward to do that. So there are two kinds of mechanism. One, of course, you need storage, and the value chain has to be strengthened, but at the same time, we need to come and rescue the farmers from the kind of crisis they face in this country.
Mr. Alag, you know, I started by asking Mr. Sharma why the price of onions specifically becomes such a huge political issue. And we're seeing the backlash for statements, you know, of those who are saying that they don't consume onions, whatever the context may be. Why do you think it's such a pain point?
No, as I told you, onions are an important part of a poor man's consumption budget. You have to look at National Sample Survey data. Yeah. Next to grain, the maximum amount of expenditure of a poor man's budget is on vegetables and fruits, and onions are something like, for a poor person, they are more than 10 to 15% of his vegetable and fruits budget. So it is an important commodity for consumption. There is no rocket science in this. Its production does tend to fluctuate. You know, there are suggestions that government should enter into, of course, government must build infrastructure, but government generally in terms of storage when it gets outside wheat or rice is quite inefficient. They have huge losses, they really, because these things have to be stored in particular ways. Otherwise, onions tend to, rot, and you have large losses. Instead, you can play the forwards markets. That is, you can assure supplies at a certain rate. Now, this will mean that the extreme fluctuation in the prices will be ironed out, which is what we want. We don't necessarily want onion prices to be those that Mrs. Alag wants to buy them at. At the same time, we don't want them to go to such a high level that the urban consumer suffers. So you need a kind of moderating setup. I think the better thing is to work through markets rather than for government itself to deal with onions. Yeah. On the other hand, building up storages, lending it out, encouraging farmer producer companies to get into the value chain, these are important steps that should be taken, both for crops like fruits like grapes, other perishable fruits, and vegetables and onions. So, imports, you know, you really will not get in fruits and vegetables. You won't get large scale imports to be able to take care of the consumption requirements of the Indian economy. Right. It's okay for grains, for pulses, and for some oil seeds, but really fruits and vegetables, perishables, imports is really not the answer.
Well, we hope there is an answer sooner or later. Most experts say the prices should stabilize in about a month, but in the meantime, it's becoming very, very difficult for common people to deal with a staple becoming so expensive. I want to thank Mr. Y.K. Alag and Devendra Sharma, two top experts on all matters with agriculture, explaining to us why we're in this mess. But let's just take a look at what's happening in the markets. My colleague Parisha has filed this report from a Sabzi Mandi in Mayur Vihar, Delhi.
I'm at the Sabzi Mandi in East Delhi, and We see all sorts of vegetables here, but what people are shying away today is onion. No wonder people are wary of buying onion, because prices have touched skies. Onion has crossed 100 rupees per kg. Ma'am, what are you shopping for today?
Carrots
Carrots. No, what about onions?
not available.
मैम आपने क्या क्या सब्जियां खरीदी आज?
अभी तो सेम ली है मैंने खाली, और अभी प्याज तो मैंने पूछा ही नहीं, मुझे लग रहा बहुत हाई हो गया रेट।
क्या भाव है प्याज आज?
सेब सस्ता हो गया, प्याज महंगा हो गया, तो हमें कौन सा खाने में मसला पड़ता है ये बता दिए।